Initial estimates suggest that Tesla delivered, based on insurance registrations in China, around about 45,000 electric cars in China in the month of April, which is actually a very good number. Tesla now makes cars in North America, in Texas, in Fremont, in Germany, and in China. In general, the most productive factory it has is its factory in Shanghai. Now, many car manufacturers in China have been struggling. Their sales have collapsed. For example, Mazda sales down more than 60%, Mitsubishi about 60% decline, Honda's down nearly 40%, Subaru the same situation, Nissan down 38%, Toyota's down nearly 20%. So here are Tesla's sales figures for its Chinese-made vehicles in the month of April. They're actually pretty decent. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Tesla's sales in the month of April of its cars made in China were a slight decline from the month of March. In March, Tesla delivered 88,900 vehicles made in its Chinese factory. In the month of April, it delivered 75,842. Now, in comparison to April of last year, well, that was insane. That was 74,000 cars more than it built last year. 1,000 was the figure for last year. The reason was because the Chinese government forced Tesla to shut down the factory last year, so they weren't able to do anything. And in fact, Tesla produced very few cars for those 2 months last year. April and May of last year, they only produced around 37,000 cars for those entire 2 months. I mean, that's less than half the figure that Tesla produced in only the month of March this year. So a massive, massive improvement here in terms of production. But still, the numbers definitely will be looked upon as a negative. The US media, and I'm going to guess that a lot of the global media will say it's a big fail from Tesla. I think it's actually not too bad. However, Tesla sold 75,842 China-made vehicles in April, which includes exports, according to data released by the Chinese government. So where do those cars go? Well, first of all, that's an increase of 4,916% versus the same month last year. But of course, that's just what I said before, down to the fact that the Chinese government shut down the factory. Did the Chinese government do that to everyone? No, it didn't. Some companies were allowed to stay open. Apparently workers, what they did is they slept in the factories. They just stayed in the factory. They worked, then they slept, then they worked, then they slept. And they'd have food delivery companies deliver them food, but they weren't allowed to see them or touch them. It was like a thing where they had to be contactless and they had to be completely isolated in the factory. So what this means, though, is that the delivery numbers globally are a decrease of 14.7% versus Tesla's production from March. Last April's low base was, of course, just down to the factory being shut down. But it does mean, though, that this year Tesla will be way ahead of where it was last year because of this massive increase in production versus last year. Obviously, the 2 months we're going to see, probably April and May, we're going to probably see around 160,000 vehicles be produced versus the 37,000 from last year. And from January to April, Tesla's China-made vehicle sales were 305,164. That's an increase of 66% from the 183,000 from last year. Now, CNEVPost.com has shared this information, and it also says that Tesla's April sales in China have been negatively impacted by consumer expectations of price cuts. I think people in China are also aware that there's a new Model 3 coming. They're waiting for it. The Chinese car market is being destroyed right now. XPeng car sales, they're down 60%. NIO's car sales are flat. I mean, they're really not growing. They're only selling about 10,000 vehicles per month. Most companies are struggling. The only one that isn't really is BYD. BYD's sales keep on growing. Pretty amazing what they're doing. The US electric vehicle maker cut prices for the Model 3 and the Model Y in several markets around the world in the first half of April, raising concerns about whether it would cut prices in China. So a lot of Chinese consumers are seeing prices of other EVs. BYD has reduced its prices. A lot of companies, almost every electric car manufacturer, every legacy car manufacturer, Toyota, for example, slashed the price of its EVs. You can get them at enormous discounts, way cheaper than Tesla EVs. So many companies have done this, and a lot of consumers are saying, well, if they're doing it, maybe Tesla will do it. So we'll hold off putting in an order. That's what the Chinese media are saying. I don't know if that's true. That's what they say. Personally, I think most people who buy Tesla are pretty well informed, and they're aware that the Project Highland model is going to be coming within the next few months. And they're aware that, like I said, there's 20 different upgrades coming to that vehicle. Maybe they're not aware of all those upgrades. If you are or you aren't, I'll put a link in the description so you can check out what the changes will be and decide whether or not you want to buy now or buy later. Now, if you do buy later, the Highland model will definitely be more expensive. It's a pretty impressive changes, I think. Now, on the 14th of April, Grace Tao, who is Tesla's Vice President of External Affairs, shared several charts on Weibo showing that all versions of the Model 3 and the Model Y available in the Chinese mainland are priced lower than in all other markets worldwide. And they are. They're very, very affordable. So Tao shared these charts without commenting, though she seemed to be suggesting at the time that Tesla would not be dropping prices in China. And it hasn't. On the 2nd of May, Tesla actually raised prices of its full lineup of Model 3s and Model Ys in China by $300. It also raised prices of the Model S and the Model X in China as well, which have just been kind of made available for sale. However, you can in fact get 3 years of free supercharging for those cars. So the Model S and the Model X, they're obviously not intended to sell in large numbers. The Model 3 now costs $33,000 in China. That's before incentives. The Model Y costs $38,000 in China before incentives. However, those prices, they're not really a fair reflection of the cost to buy a car in China, because if you want to get a car in Shanghai, Beijing, the two biggest cities, and in some other cities as well, it's very hard, very, very, very difficult to register that car if it's not electric. Very, very difficult to get a registration plate because the Chinese government knows there's a lot of smog. They don't want all these people coming in with their gasoline-powered cars and increasing the smog levels. They know that it's costing them billions of dollars in health risks, health problems. So they're trying to limit that, making it very difficult for you to get a registration plate for a car that isn't EV only. Plus, you do get EV incentives still in China. They haven't eliminated them all. There's all these different incentives in different cities all around China. What about the price of the Model S and the Model X? The Model S is $117,000 US dollars, and the Model X is $130,000 US dollars. Both of those are made in America, by the way. So they're imported from the US to China, meaning, there has to be some costs, shipping costs. They've got to ship them over, got to pay customs duties, etc. That's the key reason. That's the biggest reason why those cars are so expensive. Plus, they're never intended to be sold in large numbers, I don't believe. So is Tesla struggling to sell their cars in China? Yes, they are. Are they still doing well though? Yes, they're still doing well. When you talk about struggle street is what's happening with Japanese automakers in China right now. They are getting killed in the Chinese car market. They're being disrupted by Chinese EV makers, Chinese car manufacturers in general. And really, if we're going to focus on Tesla's sales, it's fair to compare them with other companies. Tesla is still doing very, very well in China. It's a tough, tough market. It's a bloodbath right now. Put it this way, 2,500 dealerships declared bankruptcy last year. 2,500. There's literally 4 million cars sitting in car parks waiting for people to buy them. Enormous discounts. You talk about Tesla putting discounts on their cars. Those discounts are absolutely peanuts in comparison. For example, BMW's 3 Series electric car. The price has been halved. $55,000 down to literally like $27,000 less than a Tesla Model 3. So Tesla is, it's obviously having to compete with all these massive discounts. I think it's actually doing a pretty good job. Let me know what you think though in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.